Okay, for lesson 1.4, what we're going to focus on is multiplying whole numbers. And so let's say that you have 6 boxes of toasters, okay? And you've ordered those, and each box contains 8 toasters. So how many toasters are ordered? So yes, you could pull out every toaster and count them each one by one, but there's a faster way to do this. So this problem can actually be worked by adding 6 8s. Because remember, we said 6 boxes of toasters, each box contains 8 toasters. So we're going to write, it's 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When you multiply, that would give you 48. So this problem involves repeating addition of the same number and can be worked by a shorter process called multiplication. Multiplication is a repeated addition of the same number. So the numbers that are multiplied are called factors. In this case, let's say that we're dealing with 48. This is a factor. That is a factor. And that is called a product. So when you look at that, the product of 6 and 8 can be represented also on the number line. So if I was to do a number line, which I'm going to for y'all. Okay, so we've got 0, 8. Okay, so we would have 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, and 8. That would give you 48. That is how you would see it on a number line. So now then, I also want to share with you, when you multiply, there's ways or signs that you will see that mean or indicate that you need to multiply. For example, 7 times 8, you will see that. You will also see the dot. You will also see a parenthesis being used, or even 2 parentheses being used, or even a parenthesis on one side of it. I want us to also discuss what the properties of multiplication are. So the multiplication property of 0 basically states the product of a number and 0 is 0. The product of a number and 0 is 0. Product of a number and 0. So I don't care what I put here. When you multiply it times 0, it's always going to be 0. That is the multiplication property of 0. When we look at the multiplication property of 1, it means, for example, that the product of a number and 1 is the number. The product of a number and 1 is the number. Product of a number and 1 is that number. So if we did 2 times 1, guess what? It's going to be 2. So that goes for anything when it comes to the multiplication property of 1. When we look at that commutative property of multiplication, here's what that refers to. That means that 2 numbers can be multiplied in either order and it's still going to give you the same product. In other words, it's going to give you the same answer. 4 times 3 is 12. Or if you said 3 times 4, it's still going to give you 12. That is a commutative property of multiplication. The associative property of multiplication Okay, in this example, you can see how the numbers 4 times 2 times 3, 4 times 2 times 3 are in the same order on both of sides of the equation. But the parentheses is what has changed. So grouping the numbers to be multiplied in any order, it still gives you the same result. So we know that 4 times 2 equals 8. And then if you multiply that times 3, that equals 24. So let's say that we did that on the right side. 2 times 3 is 6. And then we still have to worry about that 4. So then 4 times 6, that equals 24. Guess what? It gives you the same answer. That is the associative property of multiplication. Now then, when we look at multiplying, you know how we lined up our whole numbers? So let's say that is asking us to multiply 37 times 4. So when you multiply 37 times 4, you'll line it up like that. And then So the 2 is the tens and the 8 is the ones. So write the 8 in the ones column, and you're going to carry the 2 to the tens column because it's actually already multiplying for you. 7 times 4 is 28, right? Once again, we know that 7 times 8 is 28. Well, the 2 is the tens and the 8 is the ones. So what you do is, how would you show that? You put the 2 in small here, and you do write the 8 there. And then you would multiply 4 times 3, it's 12, and then you add that 2. That would give you 148. Now then, how would you see that it's telling you to multiply? Because it's going to say times, find the product of, multiplied by, or only a few examples of how that is done. Now then, let's talk about estimation. Remember, when we talk about estimation, we are trying to find an estimate amount so that we know whether the answer seems to be correct. Ooh, that is awful. I'm going to do that again. I'm just going to do it that way. So when we're looking at and multiplying that, yeah, you can use a calculator if you want to multiply. That is totally fine. But you're going to get, right? And so how do we know that that is correct? Let's say that we hand multiplied, I say hand multiplied, we multiplied manually without using a calculator. So when you're talking about estimation, in this case, we're going to try to estimate the product, and we're going to round each number so there is one non-zero digit, and then we're going to multiply. So when we look at that, that means that that's going to be 3,000, okay, because we're looking at this, and that is less than 5. We're looking at the number to the right, which is less than 5. And then for that one, that is going to be, so we're doing that to find the non-zero digit, and that's what we just did. And so now when we multiply 3 and 4, we know it's 12. Okay, and then we're going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. And that is relatively close to that, so you know that that was done correctly.